On January 21, 2019, Emiliano Sala boarded a flight he would never arrive on. It was late at night. The sky was dark and quiet as the aircraft climbed above the city lights. There were no cameras, no celebrations, just a footballer traveling to complete the biggest move of his life. For Sala, this journey meant everything. Years of rejection, years in lower leagues, years of proving himself without hype had finally led here. The Premier League, the ultimate dream. But something felt wrong. The plane was small. The weather was worsening. The trip was rushed. And as the aircraft disappeared over the English Channel, no one knew what was coming. There would be no arrival. No debut. Only silence, and a mystery that would shock football forever. Who was Emiliano Sala? Emiliano Sala was never a traditional superstar. He wasn't flashy or media-driven, but those who understood football knew his value. Born in Argentina, Sala moved to Europe chasing a dream shared by millions. His journey was difficult. Early struggles, constant moves, and being overlooked nearly broke that dream, but he refused to quit. Everything changed at FC Nantes. There, Sala became the heart of the team. A relentless striker who worked tirelessly, fought for every ball, and scored with calm confidence. Off the pitch, he was humble and respected, known for his kindness and gratitude. By the 2018-19 season, he was among League One's most effective forwards. Interest grew. Offers followed. For Sala, this wasn't fame. It was validation, a moment earned the hard way. The transfer. In January 2019, Cardiff City made a move that would change everything. The club agreed to a record transfer fee to bring Emiliano Sala to the Premier League. For Cardiff, fighting relegation, Sala represented hope, goals, strength, and belief. For Sala himself, it was the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. But the transfer process was rushed. After signing, Sala needed to return briefly to France to collect personal belongings and say goodbye to teammates. Instead of standard commercial travel arranged through typical club procedures, a private flight was organized under time pressure. There were no dramatic warnings at the time. No obvious red flags raised publicly. But later, questions would emerge about how the travel was arranged, who was responsible, and whether proper checks were made. It's important to be clear, at this stage, no accusations, only circumstances. Sala was eager to join his new club. Training was waiting. Expectations were high. The Premier League was calling. So late on January 21st, he boarded a small private aircraft in Nantes. A short flight. A simple journey. At least, that's what everyone believed. The flight. The aircraft was a light, single-engine plane. Limited. Designed for short journeys, but not ideal for night flights over open water. As the plane took off, conditions over the English Channel were far from calm. Weather systems were moving in. Visibility was poor. Turbulence was expected. Inside the cabin, Emiliano Sala sent voice messages to friends. His tone was calm, even joking at times, but there was an undercurrent of unease. He mentioned the plane. He mentioned the pilot. He mentioned that he hoped everything would be okay. Those messages would later be replayed across the world, not as evidence of fear, but as haunting reminders of a moment frozen in time. Radar tracked the aircraft as it crossed into darkness over the channel. Then, suddenly, it vanished. No distress signal. No emergency call. No explanation. Just a final radar point, and then nothing. The silence that followed would stretch for days. Disappearance. When the plane failed to arrive in Cardiff, concern turned quickly into alarm. Search and rescue operations were launched across the English Channel. Helicopters scanned the water. Boats covered vast stretches of coastline. Radar data was reviewed again and again. Fans gathered. Candles were lit. Football stadiums fell silent in tribute. Across France, Wales, Argentina, and beyond, people waited for news, hoping for a miracle. Sala's family endured unimaginable uncertainty, not knowing whether to grieve or hope, not knowing whether answers would ever come. For days, the sea gave nothing back. The football world stood still. Eventually, wreckage was discovered on the seabed. The aircraft was found. And with it came the confirmation everyone feared. Emiliano Sala had died. The dream was over. But the questions were only just beginning. What went wrong? Investigations that followed revealed a chain of failures, not one single cause, but multiple factors aligning in the worst possible way. The aircraft was found to have technical issues. The pilot lacked proper commercial licensing for the flight. Oversight was insufficient. Organizational decisions were rushed. Safety procedures were unclear. Importantly, no single moment tells the full story. This was not about one mistake, but about systems that failed to protect a human life. A football transfer driven by urgency. A flight arranged without full safeguards. A night journey over dangerous waters. Each piece alone might not have caused tragedy. Together, they proved fatal. Authorities would later highlight the importance of proper regulation, accountability, and duty of care, lessons written in loss rather than policy. Aftermath and responsibility. Following Sala's death, legal and regulatory consequences unfolded. There were court cases, investigations, questions of responsibility at multiple levels. Football authorities, aviation regulators, and clubs were forced to confront uncomfortable truths about risk, pressure, and procedure. For Cardiff City, the tragedy became entangled in contractual disputes, discussions that felt painfully small compared to the human cost. Across football, moments of silence were observed. Shirts were raised. Goals were dedicated. But beyond the tributes, something deeper lingered. Could this have been prevented? And if so, how many other systems were quietly vulnerable? Sala's death became more than a tragedy. It became a warning. Emiliano Sala didn't die chasing fame. He died chasing his dream. A dream earned through years of struggle. A dream reached honestly without shortcuts. A dream that should have ended on a football pitch, not at the bottom of the sea. Today, Sala is remembered not just as a footballer, but as a symbol of what happens when systems fail the people inside them. His story reminds us that behind every transfer fee is a human being. Behind every deadline is a life. And behind every silence, there is a lesson.